So behind us here is the Spielberg Castle, which I can see now. We're looking out onto the city of Brno. So when we needed to record some sounds for the doors for Silent Hill, we came here and had a grand tour of the castle and recorded every moving door we could find, big iron grates in the dungeons and big doors in the banquet halls, big massive wooden doors with great big handles, you know, stuff like this. So yeah, we spent the whole day here recording all that and got some really good sounds. Yeah. So this was in 2010. I was working for a company called Zoe Mode in Brighton, and there's a parent company called Kuju which owned Zoe Mode and also owned Vatra, which is the development studio just over there in Brno, and they were developing Silent Hill, but they only had one junior sound designer on the project. He'd already been working on it for about a year, but he was overworked and the audio schedule was behind its deadlines. So Vatra asked Zoe Mode if they could borrow somebody senior from the audio department just for a few months to help them ship their first title, which was Russian Attack. And then if that went well, they would look to increase their support for Silent Hill. So I offered to come over and help. So my first job was actually just to ship Russian Attack and make sure that was working properly. And because I knew about the Silent Hill title, I was obviously very tempted to work on that full time. But of course I had my full-time job in England, so I talked to the various people involved and arranged it so that I could come back to Brno and take on a full-time position as audio director for Silent Hill. So I went back to England, I quit my job there and relocated here a month later. And 7 years later, I'm still here. Yeah, so after Silent Hill, we started another project called D-Arms, but unfortunately the publisher pulled out of that project, so that was canned and the company had to downsize. A lot of the staff were laid off, including me. So I then was looking for some more work, and I eventually found a contract in Warsaw in Poland for 6 months as audio director on, I forget what it was now, Sniper 2 Ghost Warrior. So I went over there for 6 months, worked on that and also another project called Alien Rage. And then after my contract finished, I moved back to Brno and I hired a van, drove to England, picked up all my studio gear, drove it back to Brno and set up my own studio and went freelance. And I've been working for myself since then. And one of the projects which I started a few years ago was the Tomb Raider suite, which we've been developing into a live orchestral show. We've also just recorded the album at Abbey Road Studios in London, and we've been making a documentary about that whole process. I originally had the idea back in 1997 after I'd written Tomb Raider, and I was approached then by Decca Records, who wanted to release the Tomb Raider music as an album. But for one reason or another that didn't happen. But it kind of gave me the idea and I never forgot about that. So I kept chasing that idea and talking to Eidos and then Square Enix when they took over about, you know, rescoring the whole game, extending a lot of the game cues and turning it into a standalone orchestral piece of music, which is now called the Tomb Raider suite. On the previous occasions that I talked to Eidos about it, the project didn't move forward. It wasn't the right time for them. They didn't want to do it at that time or at those times. But I didn't give up on it. I kept asking them, kept putting the idea in front of them. And eventually in 2014, I had the idea of increasing the scope of the whole project. So instead of just recording an album, I decided to do the live show and possibly push that into a tour, which we are doing, and also a making of documentary about this whole process. So when I put that business plan together in 2014 and spoke to Square Enix about that, they were then really keen and wanted to do the project. And particularly with the 20th anniversary of Tomb Raider coming up in 2016, it was the right time to do it. So what we've been working on lately is the Tomb Raider Suite website, which we're about to go live with, and on that you will be able to pre-order the Tomb Raider Suite album on either digital download, CD or vinyl. And these are all double CDs, double vinyls. So, and we've done original artwork for all of those, which has been hand-drawn by a very good chap who's working out in Indonesia, a chap called Fizz. He's brilliant. He's drawn this picture for our website, which is something like 18,000 by 10,000 pixels. It's massive, you know, it's a proper giant-sized poster, all hand-drawn. It looks beautiful. So we've got a load of merchandise on there on the website that people can buy. The album will be a little bit later than we originally said on the Kickstarter campaign. We were hoping to release in November, but we were about 2 months later getting into Abbey Road than we wanted to. We wanted to get in there in August. We ended up in October. So that naturally has pushed back all the other deadlines in terms of getting the merchandise ready and getting the album artwork ready and packaged, etc. So do the maths on that. We're looking at January earliest, I think, for a release. So do have a look at the website, check all the stuff out on there. There's some really good things for fans on there. The live show, of course, is coming up next year. So if you're anywhere in America, you should be able to pick up the first shows sometime in the summer. And then we hope to roll that out into Europe shortly after that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, moving over to Japan and China. So that's kind of those two bits. And the documentary is kind of following us along this whole process. We're filming little bits as we go. So we hope to have the TV documentary all edited up and mastered probably towards the end of next year, I would think. So yeah, watch this space. There's some good stuff coming for you Tomb Raider fans.